Is a four-way stop at Nelson and Main Street, Port Dover, which Councillor Wells has heard about. Is there any study of that intersection to put a four-way stop there or street traffic signals?
Through the chairman to council, I don't know where that one stands. I will double check with staff to see where we stand with the warrants on that one.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have one item, and it's going to be a question to Bill Cridlin. Bill, in regards to the report hopefully coming on the 30th regarding next steps for the multi-use recreational facility project, can you give us a status? Is that underway, and will you be hopefully meeting that deadline that the subcommittee asked you to meet with that report?
Through the chair, yes, I can add to that. As of yesterday, I handed the report to David Cribbs, who is having a read, and I don't see any issues unless David's going to surprise me tomorrow that we will definitely make the January 30th meeting, and I think we're in good shape.
Just on that issue, one of the things that I have no problem with the report coming forward and all that, but one of the things that I don't want to hear again, and I don't know if I've spoke to the clerk about this, as many of you did, attend all the sessions. I don't really want to sit in this council chamber and rehear the same deputation that I've heard 6 times already at all the other sessions. And I don't know if there's some way that council will address, or the clerk will address that. Is that going to be looked at? Because the way he spoke to me is, if there are deputations, they have to deal with the report or an issue that has not been dealt with already. Is that correct? Maybe the county manager can answer that.
The county's procedural bylaw indicates that residents can come and speak to you once per term of council on fill in the blank issue, but it's designed to be once per issue. I don't think the unique nature of the road show takes away from the capacity to come here and speak, but those who already have, unless it's a materially different topic or you vary it or you waive your procedural rule, have already had their submission in that respect. So our rules are designed so as not to clog us up and get us bogged down, but to allow you to efficiently address the issues of the day and make decisions and then have us enact them. So they're not designed for us to be clogged down, and if that happens, we'll rely on our procedural bylaw, which says you can come and speak to a stop sign, a recreational hub, snow plowing, whatever, once. And then beyond that, you need your permission. You can waive your own rules, but our rules are designed to prohibit that, so I think you have relatively little to fear in that regard. Other than to say, I don't think going and speaking at the the special sessions you set up throughout the community, I don't think those count because of the nature of those sessions.
All right, we'll see what happens. Thank you.
Go ahead. You're next on the other business list.
Deal with the information package and the members, the memo on page 51, and it deals with the idea of doing a possible study on the fire and paramedic services location. Now, I didn't know we were going to bring the paramedics into it. That may be good or bad, but before, I just have a question on this. He's put an approximate price in there. Where did that come from? That's my first question, I guess through to Bill.
Through the chair to Councillor Brunton, staff, the direction of staff were to bring a memo back or information on what a detailed study would cost. So staff took it that as we have the majority of our EMS and fire stations together, we would need to include both. And that number came from not a consultant, but what Chief Townsend did and Chief Dix were to reach out to their peer groups who have went through the similar exercise in the recent past and kind of gathered information on what they had paid as a municipality, and that's how we came up with the range, depending on the size of the municipality, between the 60 and 80,000. It's approximation. I'm not sure if we did follow through and went to market, whether ours would be in the high end or the low end, but this is what the peer groups or local municipalities around us have paid for a similar study.
Okay, and do you know who the groups, or who does this type of work? Or consulting firms or whatever, who are the types that do this type of work?
Through the chair to Councilor Brunn, I don't have that information firsthand. I could get that. I don't have any names or any associations with groups that do this, but there are consultants there that deal with this sort of thing.
Okay, well, I think I would like to know that, and I'm sure maybe the rest of the council would like to know that before we move ahead, if we move ahead. And the other issue I have is with some of the study recommendations down here, I would like to have maybe a little more information on what those, I'm not quite sure what they entail. Like what the unit hour utilization, what kind of information we're going to get out of that. So I think, I'd like to know some recommendations on who actually does this type of work, different consulting firms, if that's what they are, and some more detail perhaps on what these items are that they would recommend in the study. And again, for further information package to council. That's what I would like to see. Anyways, thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Black, to that, and then
Yeah, just
your other business.
on this topic, would a motion be in order to forward this to our operating budget for deliberation?
Whatever your wishes are.
Well, I'd like to put that on the floor as a motion to forward this memo and the amount to our budget, operating budget deliberations. If there's a
Seconder
second.
to that? Councillor Brunton has seconded. You've heard the motion. All those in favor? That is not carried.
So now you don't need any of that other information.
Go ahead with your other business, Councillor Black.
I don't have any.
You don't have any. Councillor Wells.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I had 5 items. One's been looked after. The first item has to do with the information package, a letter from Melissa Culber with regard to the 150 celebration. I think that was a wonderful event that we hosted here in Norfolk County to celebrate our 150 years. And she and her committee are to be congratulated for the efforts that they put in, and a special kudos to Larry Dawson for his efforts as the famous guy that he took after. Charlatan, that's the word. Thank you very much. Now, the other, I have 3 other very quick items, Mr. Chair, and they all deal with snow, because apparently we had some snow, which is unique to this area. When I first moved to Dover, they told me the one thing that you never need is a shovel. You get a little broom, and that's all the snow you'll ever get. Well, somehow or another, my broom does not work too well this year. And so it has caused some concern in my phone to ring with regard to, and as you also know, many of my residents, some of my residents, tend to go to the warmer climates when the snow hits. And unfortunately, the snow doesn't follow them down there. It snows in Port Dover. And they have sidewalks. And I guess my question to Mr. Barrett is, are they responsible to come back from Florida or wherever they are to shovel their sidewalks? Or what arrangement should they make? Because people are pretty upset.
Chair, through the chair, I can appreciate that. Unfortunately, homeowners, regardless of where they are responsible for the sidewalk that traverses the front of their property, unless it's a 4-lane highway. Ms. Robinson's group does those. But no, they are responsible for clearing those sidewalks by 12 noon following the cessation of a storm. And I know it's been particularly difficult with a large amount of snow and the heavy nature of it, but they are responsible, and we ask for everyone's cooperation to keep their sidewalks clear.
And if such a thing happens that they have not arranged to have their sidewalks shoveled, what do we do?
What we generally do through the chair is if there's a complaint lodged, our officers will go and attend the property and request that it be cleared up. We give them some grace. Sometimes they're coming off a night shift. Sometimes they might be away. We generally have pretty good compliance. People do their best to keep it clear. But worst-case scenario, and we do have those examples on a regular basis, we will give that landowner sufficient warning, after which we have an obligation to get that sidewalk cleared out, and we use a contractor, and then the cost for that is billed back to them.
Okay, thank you very much. And does that same thing apply to a construction site on Main Street where they are building a new structure? And unfortunately, on the weekend, they were not there, but unfortunately it snowed, and the same thing happened. Now I've got sections of the sidewalk that is filled in with snow and people complaining. Did that construction person have the responsibility the same as the homeowner, even though the building is not there?
Absolutely, through the chair. They are an owner, and they have the same responsibilities as any private residential homeowner.
Thank you very much. And my third one, Mr. Chair, also deals with snow. Because we have so much snow and it's on the sidewalk and people are suggesting it should be removed, you know how we pile it up, our plows go by and they plow up the snow. And this one goes to Ms. Robinson. The suggestion was made, maybe we should purchase one of those snow blowers and have the truck behind it, and you know how the snow blower comes in, you see them in the big cities of Toronto and that sort of thing, where they fill in the truck and away they go and all that sort of thing. Why don't we, oh, sorry, I shouldn't say, I don't think we have one of those, and if not, why don't we have one?
Through the chairman to council, you are correct. We do not own a snow blower of that magnitude due to the cost. They're extremely expensive. We would need multiple ones in order to provide that service throughout the municipality, and it would be extremely cost prohibitive for the life expectancy of that piece of equipment versus the amount that we would actually use it here in Norfolk County.
And when do we decide to remove the snow on the sidewalks, you know, that's piled there? Do we do it once a week, or is there a kind of a time frame, or?
Through the chairman to council, I'm struggling a little bit with the question. Do you mean the snow on the boulevards?
Yeah.
Okay, not on the sidewalks, because
Well,
it shouldn't be piled on the sidewalk.
No. But you know,
Okay.
when the plow goes by, it puts it next to the sidewalk?
Yes, into the boulevard area.
Yes.
It depends on where you're referring to.
Main Street.
Okay, Main Street, it depends on the weather, the forecast. There's no hard and fast rules for how we do it. For example, we are looking at some significant snow potentially on Friday and Saturday. Our snow storage ability on some of those locations is minimal at this point, and therefore we're hoping in the next 2 evenings to be doing a fair bit of snow removal in areas where we have minimal snow storage available. There's really no hard and fast rules. If we have a little bit of snow there and it looks like it's going to be really mild and it's probably going to melt in the next week, we probably won't remove it. But if we're in a situation like this where it looks like we've got another snowstorm coming and no room to store it, we'll start removing it. So,
Thank you. And thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I have asked Dave if he would stay and write this so that he will get it in the Port Dover Maple Leaf. That's the Bible in Port Dover, and people won't be calling me quite so often. Thank you very much.
Mayor Luke.
Very quick things. As most of you know, the OMB hearing continues tomorrow after 2 days in this room. Well, actually, they're at the POA this afternoon. It's quite interesting if you get a chance to stop and listen to some of it. It's quite interesting. My only suggestion when I come tomorrow is to say, you're welcome to use our chamber, but don't steal our batteries for our microphones. Mr. Johnson's staff came in tonight all smiles to deliver. I shouldn't say tonight, this afternoon at 2 o'clock. They had grins on their face. I don't think couldn't have been any happier to get rid of these and give them to us, but I think the vacation is over. 2 weeks tomorrow, we get into this budget on the 24th, so we got some reading to do and some work to do, I think. That's 1, 2. Just a little, for those that have not received the update on the SWIFT, the fiber connectivity project that we are part of, they issued a couple of, I know some of you got this, but I just want to say they issued some press releases at the end of last week, and just quickly to highlight this one, back in May of this year, Mr. Chair, you know they had put out an RFPQ of qualifiers. For qualifiers, they awarded that to 8. And since then, they put out an RFP process to these 28 pre-qualified people to, and they put out the RFP, and it says here that in the RFP process, they're expected to respond to these competitive proposals, and it'll all be wrapped up in spring of this year, and construction of the network commencing mid-2018, this summer. We'll keep you posted as to the progress, finally starting to see some maybe more movement. I know it's been a while coming. It's been a long haul. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Brunton?
Are we applicants to this funding?
We had committed several years ago to, I believe our commitment was $400,000. Don't quote me to the dollar, but I think it was $80,000 a year for 5 years, somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000. And we are the one of the, Mr. Cribbs knows how many municipalities are involved in this project.
I believe they're up to 19, of which we are the second smallest.
Second smallest. And long story short, as you recall, there was $180 million provided, 90 from the province, 90 from the feds, plus based on per capita, how much each of the municipalities are contributing, and
Well, I guess, Mayor Luke, if I may, do we have an application in that could be considered by as one of these 8 municipalities? Is that a possibility? Have we made any kind of application to it?
to whom?
You said there's 8 going to be awarded?
No, there are 28 that met the
Right.
RFPQ. These are all, there's some of the big players that were awarded, such as Bell and Hydro One, Rogers Communications, but there's also some that service our area, such as Eastlink, part of the 28, Execulink, Silo. Now the RFP is the actual starting of the burying of the fiber. And that's what these 28 can now bid because they qualify to do the work.
And could it be in our area? That's my question.
Well, it could be. It's probably going to start with some of the bigger, larger projects first. Perhaps through the chair, the county manager could comment better on that.
In very plain English, the bids that demonstrate the greatest value in return are those, this is a 20-year program, and there will be multiple RFPs over the course of the next 2 decades. And every time, well, they start with a blank slate, but they have contractual obligations to us and to all the other municipalities. You'll recall it was a payoff of at least 4 times the investment, and your investment was roughly $400,000, I'm rounding. But, so there's no guarantee that we'll be in the first trench, or we could have 3 projects in the first trench. There is a guarantee at a certain point in time that we're bringing back 4 times our investment, at a minimum, right? And the max would be around 12 to 13. So it isn't Norfolk County that bids, no municipality that bids. We collectively own SWIFT. Remember, SWIFT is us. It represents our interests. It's the corporations that are, and their cases that show, my proposed project's going to hook up 800 homes, is going to beat a project that hooks up 600 homes, is going to beat a project that hooks up 400. You see how that goes. And after the first few, if 3 have been awarded in Oxford County, for sake of argument, then one would imagine that the 4th time round, even if it's 800 homes, but it's in Oxford, that doesn't help them accomplish their goals, so they're going to have to look at 400 homes in Norfolk, assuming we weren't already there. So it's a long-term game, a long-term plan, but we will never be able to give you a straight answer as to when a project in Norfolk will be successful. We know projects in Norfolk will be successful, and it could be this summer, and it could be 4 years from now. There is no way to give a definitive answer to that.
So and I haven't seen the document Mayor Luke refers to, but I know Bell, Hydro One, they all have fiber within Norfolk County. So what you're saying is we don't know if they're bidding on things, correct? There's no way we can find out if they're bidding to put, I know there's fiber from Bell coming into Simcoe from Brantford and all that, like, are they gonna maybe service some area? We don't know that, is that, but they could be bidding on that, is correct? Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Benito?
Okay, that brings this evening's business to a close. We are adjourned. Thank you and good night.